Hi everyone, David here from Teachola. Previously we were known as Teachers for Asia. I'm here with Clara, one of our Teach Abroad specialists.
Hi everyone, it's nice to be here.
So for starters, let's watch our short 2-minute video that will explain a lot about Teachola and who we are. Hope that video helped you see what we're all about. Let's start with brief information about myself. So I'm one of the co-founders with Teachola. You can see my education background there. I got my TEFL as well. I taught business subjects and English language in Asia for 8 years. I started in South Korea, then I moved to mainland China, and I also lived in Hong Kong. And I've experienced teaching all ages from professional adults and university students all the way down to the very young learners. How about you, Cara?
Yes, so I work with a couple of others as a Teach Abroad specialist here at Teachola, and I have a degree in international business with Mandarin Chinese, and as well as a couple of TEFL certificates too. So I studied and taught English in Taiwan, and then also spent some time living and teaching in mainland China as well. And I have experience teaching young learners, beginners, as well as adults and business English too. So a big range.
Great. A little bit of brief background on us. So I mentioned we were Teachers for Asia. We're now Teachola. We've been established over 10 years now. We've worked with 10,000 or more teachers in the past decade. Trusted and reliable reputation in the industry amongst teachers. And we focus a lot on the Irish market, where I'm originally from, the UK, along with North America, South Africa too. But we have worked with many, many different nationalities over the years. Here we list out the markets we have positions and schools in, or partner schools. But mainland China is by far our biggest market. We also have options in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, in South Korea, Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and to a lesser extent here in Europe, here in Spain, where I'm based, and also in the UK. And then we have positions coming soon, hopefully in the Middle East. More information on that shortly. In terms of our support offices, so we were established in Dublin, 2011. We also have a small support office in the UK, in Belfast. Also here in Valencia, Spain, where I'm based. And we have our partner office in mainland China, and also in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. This is a brief description of the process we use, and we'll talk more about this throughout the video. but you can see there, step one, you book your workshop, and we'll talk more about what you can get out of these workshops that we'll be running for you. This describes really well our core services: teach, live, learn. So teach, we help you find the best teaching position in Asia to fit your own personal requirements. Live, well, this is where we support you when you land. We connect you with our Teachola community, where we have connections with sports clubs and local nonprofits and also local service providers. More on that later. And finally, teach, live, learn. So learn represents obviously where you can upskill and improve your CV as you go. And we'll go into more details on that later too. Teachola teach. Why teach in Asia? So we've laid out a few of the obvious reasons, right? So you get to experience a fascinating new culture. You save money every month. Me personally, I was able to save so much living in Asia compared to back in Europe. Cara, I think you were the same, right?
Definitely, I was able to save so much when I was living in China, especially, and could live comfortably and save comfortably. So I could save and then still go out and spend money freely without having to worry too. So it was a really great opportunity to save.
Right. And then travel is another obvious one, especially with what's going on in the world these days. To be able to travel is just what everybody wants to do now. So I know when I lived there in Asia, I traveled all across Asia. But right now within China, where a lot of our teachers are based, it's really very much free movement, free travel. And because COVID just isn't anywhere near as big an issue as it is in many of the European or American countries as well. Other things: meet like-minded people, you receive ongoing quality training, further develop your skill set, gain international work experience. Cara, you mentioned that you got a lot out of your time in Asia, right?
Yeah, I gained so much. I mean, just by myself, of course, I learned all about TEFL and teaching. This is where I honed my skills. But then personally as well, I developed a lot. So things like my confidence grew, my ability to speak in public, all of these different things I developed throughout my time over there as well.
Great. And again, you get to learn a new language. So most of our partner schools will offer you free language lessons, especially in mainland China. So you'll be getting Mandarin lessons. Cara, I know you speak fluent Chinese, so not as important for you. But for many people who have zero experience with learning an Asian language, I think it's a cool thing to come home with. In terms of the length of time, most of our teachers stay in Asia. Well, for me, I was going to go for 1 year. I stayed for 8. Cara, I think you were saying something similar, right?
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've heard that. I have so many friends who plan just to go for a year or two, and like yourself, have stayed there 7, 8, 9 years.
For sure. I think especially now with the challenges in the economies here in Europe and elsewhere, it's a really good opportunity to go out, save a lot of money, and just have a great time, really experience life and learn about a new fascinating culture. Where can you teach with Teachola? Well, we've got the map laid out here. We have positions now in over 50 cities across Asia. We've been at this a long time and built up a lot of partnerships with schools. So for this webinar, we're talking more about first timers, people who've never been to Asia, and maybe people who've never even considered teaching. So the locations we're going to focus in on: China, especially Shanghai, Shenzhen, Beijing, and Chengdu. They'd be our 4 most popular cities for first timers. South Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam. Focusing on China first, mainland China. The teaching programs there in Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Chengdu. So The big thing for first timers is support, and that's what we really focus in on. So that's both support before you leave, when you land, and also ongoing. We've placed several teachers now over 4 times over the last 10 years. So people who would have gone out as first-timer teachers way back, we're still helping them find the next job in China or maybe somewhere else in Asia. So we're with you the whole time. You'd have a dedicated placement consultant working with you, either Cara or myself or Rebecca or Ashley or Michelle, along with our support team and admin. Most of our schools, in fact, the schools with these programs, we've worked with them many, many years, in some cases 8 or 9 years. We've professionally set up contracts with these schools. We visit the school campus regularly, and have done for the last many, many years. So you can be guaranteed this quality. We have weekly management meetings with the school HR team or the principal, and we're regularly in touch to get feedback on how our teachers are doing, and to give that feedback to the teacher. Ongoing support throughout your whole contract. So I don't know about you, Cara, but when I first went to Asia, I never heard from my so-called recruiter ever. I was shocked. How about you? Did you find that, or did you have a good support when you first went out?
For me, I did it all by myself, so I had no
Wow.
support. Yeah, it was very difficult, applying for jobs and doing my own interviews. I wasn't really sure about the reliability, and so had to do it all by myself. So I didn't have any support. Had I had known about something like this, I definitely would have jumped at the chance to know that I was going to a reliable, good quality school.
I can imagine that was stressful, but you speak Chinese. So imagine for somebody who doesn't, it's just, I think overwhelming is a word we hear a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's where we come in. We hold your hand through each stage from the very first step all the way through. Yeah, we provide regular quality content, mainly in video format, that teachers really love. And we'll talk more about that later. So we have coaching videos we've done up. We have videos on culture and language, and also practical videos on how to get your documents ready and how to prepare for your interview and all these things. Teacher meetup events after you settle into your city. We'll talk about that more later in the video. And obviously the workshop that we offer is central to all of this. So we expect you watch this video, and then we'll meet you in person in our online workshops, where we can talk a lot more about the interviews and getting you prepared. Briefly on the specific locations. So teach and live in Shanghai. This is the first program. Shanghai is a very famous city. The nightlife is incredible. Restaurants, bars, always new ones opening up, massive expat community. I lived in Shanghai myself for over 3 years. Cara, you mentioned you lived about an hour and a half away from Shanghai, but you traveled there a lot, right?
Yeah, you mentioned travel as a good opportunity there previously in the video. And so, like you said, I lived about 2 hours away on a high-speed train, and it was super convenient and cheap. So I actually spent quite a lot of my time in Shanghai traveling back and forth. It really is a great city.
Yeah. Yeah, the shopping is phenomenal. And yeah, we could talk for hours about Shanghai. Yeah. Very attractive climate as well, 4 distinct seasons, and it's obviously a transport hub, so you can get anywhere from there. The program we run, we've actually placed, I'd say it's well over 80 teachers now. I mean, first-timer ESL teachers, English as a second language. In this video, we're not talking about placing our subject teachers or our professionally qualified teachers. That's a separate video we'll do. And they would be teachers who would teach their subject. So for example, we recently placed a qualified drama teacher to Shanghai, but that's a separate side of our business. So more on that in another video. We always get really positive feedback from our partner school in Shanghai. The teachers seem to love the setup as a first-time position. And yeah, we mentioned the Teachola community here. So we have a lot of contacts with sports clubs, especially the GAA, the Gaelic football club, soccer clubs, rugby, a lot of the social clubs, and there's always a chance to get involved in volunteer work if that's what you want to do too. And more of that is available on our website. And there's the link. Next city is Beijing. Teach and live in Beijing. So I've been in Beijing many, many times. I didn't live there, but I visited many times with our schools and our teachers. It's one of my favorite cities in Asia. Fascinating city and so much opportunity there. Again, the nightlife in these bigger cities is amazing. It's a real 24/7 city. The history is obvious. Amazing architecture. You'll be blown away by the infrastructure in Beijing. It's kind of ancient meets modern, especially after they held the Olympics in 2008. It really boomed from there. Globalized city. Cara, you mentioned you travel there quite a bit.
Yeah, I also spent time in Beijing. Actually, when I was studying in Taiwan, we visited the other half of my classmates who were studying in Beijing. And it was this time that made me realize, actually, when I come back to Asia, I want to spend time in mainland China. So I really fell in love with China via Beijing.
Great. A lot of people mention that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this program is also very exciting. Similar style to the one in Shanghai. This is with a partner school we've worked with since 2011, long time ago. And we've placed, I think, close to 100 teachers now. All would be beginner, first-timer teachers in Asia. We did get some people actually traveling from South Korea who wanted to make the move to China, which is also happening very regularly now as well. These are a great school. We'll tell you more about the school, obviously, in the workshop when you join us, and we speak face-to-face online. Very strong Irish connection with this school. And yeah, again, the Teachola community we have built up in Beijing is really strong as well. So more information on that in our videos. Teach and live in Shenzhen. So this is one of my favorite cities. I lived in Hong Kong, and Shenzhen is the city right across the river. So essentially you get everything or many things that Hong Kong offers, but a lot cheaper. So it means you can save a lot. South of China in Guangdong province. This is a phenomenal city. It's often referred to as Silicon Valley of Asia. A lot of the tech coming out of Shenzhen now is incredible. The nightlife is amazing. There seems to be a new restaurant or bar opening up every week, every day, maybe in this city. The expat community is very lively as well. The weather is a big attraction here, sunny 300 days per year. And again, it's just an international transport hub. The airport is phenomenal. I've traveled through it. It's like something out of, it's really impressive. Cara, you mentioned you visited the south. You like the climate there?
Yeah, I love the climate. And you mentioned about Shenzhen being super close to Hong Kong. So I've spent some time in Hong Kong too, and it's one of my favorite cities in the world. And so, yeah, this city, Shenzhen, is such a buzz about it, and it's such a vibrant city. And you hear so much about it, and it's becoming more and more popular with a lot of teachers looking to move to China.
And we haven't even mentioned the food. I mean,
yeah,
the food in the south is incredible. Cantonese food, there's just so many options. And yeah, with the positions we have here, these are interesting ones. We have public school positions, Monday through Friday. Again, we'll go into more detail in these in the workshop and when we send you out more information. We've placed well over 100 teachers into our partner school here for the first-timer roles. We also have placed many teachers into other roles in this city. So it's a real, it's a very important city for us. We always get very positive feedback about life in Shenzhen. And again, we've put a lot of effort into connecting with the community through the sports clubs, a lot of the social clubs, a lot of the local service providers that would be of interest to teachers. We're building up a great network there for teachers to make use of. Again, there's the link. You can check out more information on Shenzhen. And the last one we're featuring in China, this is a really popular city for us as well, is Chengdu. It's in the west of China. Very green, very close to nature. It's a slightly smaller city than the other three mega cities. So it's still huge, though, 12 million plus population. Really established, lively expat network. It's just a beautiful region in China, and of course, famous for the panda. We had to put that picture up.
Yeah.
The food is incredible. The hot pot is one of the famous dishes. So we'd highly recommend Chengdu. And of course, this would be a cheaper city than the other three we've mentioned. Shanghai would be probably the most expensive, then maybe Beijing, then Shenzhen, and Chengdu would be cheaper. So a lot of our teachers there are saving more. Some are reporting saving in excess of $1,200, $1,300 or more per month after everything. So it's a really good opportunity as a newbie, as a beginner, to get in and live in this incredible city. The position itself, it's a really good package. We've worked with this school for many years as well, and we're always getting very positive feedback. I've mentioned already, you could save a lot with this particular package. Always really positive feedback. And again, we've connected over the years with the local communities. So we would put you in touch with the sports clubs or social clubs and these things as part of our Teachola Teach, Live, Learn service. Typical job description. Carol, you were teaching, I think, at a private academy. Is that right? When you were in mainland China?
Yeah, I taught at a private training school. So I worked from Wednesday through to Sundays and taught a mix of students, mostly young learners. So from about 3 years of age, the whole way up to 15.
Me too. That was my first job as well. And what I loved about that was small class size. I was able to really get to know the kids. I might have 8, 9, 10 in the class. Whereas with a public school setup, you're going to have 30, 40, or even 50.
Yeah.
So it is a different approach, but we'll go into more detail on that. And we have videos done up. We have articles and everything written to help you, the teacher, decide which would be a better fit. But generally, yeah, it's a great setup. The curriculum is on a plate for you, and just the whole management side of it is great. Everything's set up, right? And they help you with everything. I think you mentioned, Cara, about your experience finding your apartment. You were really impressed with how they hold your hand, I guess, through each step after you land in China.
Yeah, exactly. We had a welfare support officer. So she helped me go look at apartments and choose my apartment, and helped me with setting up my mobile phone and all of those little bits and pieces. And actually, we are still in contact. We've actually become really, really good friends since then, and still talk on a regular basis. So I found that really helpful. Even though I did speak a bit of Chinese, it's always nice to have that support and reassurance when you're there in your first couple of weeks.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, here we've laid out in very short summary format the types of positions. So TEFL teaching, you may hear it being referred to as ESL, kind of similar, minor differences, but generally you're teaching English to Asian students. So here we're focusing on China. So we got that private academy or training center, they're sometimes called, that option. Teaching children, teenagers, or adults. The public school option is there as well. University, generally, that would be for people who have more than 1 year experience in Asia. It's not generally something you're going to get as a first timer, but if it depends on several factors, your qualifications, your experience, but for ESL, generally not. And that might be something you work towards within 1 or 2 years. Then we have the positions more for qualified, professionally qualified teachers. So we work with a lot of international schools, bilingual schools using the various international curriculums like the IB curriculum, IGCSE. We have positions in early childhood, primary and middle school, high school, teaching your subjects. So more on that in another video. And here's a basic breakdown of package. Very good salary. China right now is, I think, easily regarded as the #1, the top location in the world for teaching English in terms of the lower cost of living and the very competitive salaries. So you're going to save a lot of money. The accommodation allowance, the apartment provided, like what Cara mentioned, it's great. It means you don't need to worry about that. Your flight ticket allowance, your visa costs, your medical and accident insurance, airport collection, of course, with COVID, the quarantine, and we'll go into more detail on this in the next, later in the video. Orientation, full training is provided as well. All of our schools are going to be training you for at least 1 to 2 weeks. So it's really good system, especially for people who are brand new to teaching. You get paid holidays, obviously. Generally, it's a 5-day working week. And then a lot of our schools will offer free Chinese lessons and plenty of social networking events too. That's all within your school. But then with Teachola community, and you're going to make your own friends very easily. You're going to find the social life in China is phenomenal. I don't know about you, Cara, but I felt it was like I was back at university. I went over to Asia when I was a little bit older. Were you the same? I know you studied over there, but when you were actually teaching, it's very easy to meet people, right?
So easy to meet people. I was so blessed and so lucky that the school that I went into, I just made friends automatically. And again, I'm still in contact with a lot of those people. I met some amazing people. I made some really great friends. And like you said, it's like-minded people. So you do almost have that university vibe feeling in terms of everybody's very social and outgoing and friendly, and people always seem to be up for doing different activities or hanging out at the weekend. So I thoroughly enjoyed my lifestyle over there.
Here you can see some of the clips from teachers coming in at airport collection. It's usually really well organized, and it's a nice friendly face when you arrive. Most people are going to be jet lagged. So all of that is taken into account. Don't worry about that. Don't stress about that. That first week is all about you settling in, adjusting to the new time zone, and just getting over your jet lag. And it's a very soft landing. And a nice gentle introduction into teaching. Here's an example of apartments that our teachers have stayed in. Obviously, this is just an example of one, but it really varies. So usually our partner schools will actually have an apartment ready for you, and we'll discuss it with you before you arrive, obviously. Generally, it's either a 2-bed apartment or a 1-bed studio, depending on what you prefer. And the other schools will, if they don't provide you with an apartment, they'll provide you with an apartment allowance that will generally cover the cost of a really good, comfortable, modern apartment. And don't worry, they don't leave you to your own devices to find your accommodation. All of that is managed closely, and you'll be well looked after. Like what Cara mentioned earlier, you'll be brought around to see different apartments and take it from there. Would you agree with that, Cara?
Yeah, definitely. You will be able to have your choice and walk around. Like you said, if that's an option and they're giving you an allowance, there will definitely be support for that. And it gives you a bit more control. So like for me, I loved my apartment. I lived in a studio apartment, and everything I needed was within a 15-minute walk of where I lived.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's the thing. It's very handy the way the communities and the neighborhoods are set up. You have restaurants everywhere, bars everywhere, shops, fresh fruit and veg markets. It's all usually very accessible. Okay, we're almost done for this first part of this video, but we focus mainly on mainland China. Obviously, we have other positions. We operate in 10 markets, I think, across Asia now. I mentioned a lot of them. We focus more on the international schools. But for first-time ESL teachers, we do have options in South Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam. So let's briefly talk about that. South Korea, where I lived way back in 2008, the problem with South Korea, the salaries have not really increased, whereas the cost of living has. So this impacts on how much you could expect to save. That's just something to point out, but please do your own research on that. The way I see it, the golden decade in Korea was 2002, 2012, because the Soccer World Cup happened 2002, and things really began to develop there, and it's still a great option, but maybe wouldn't compare in terms of how much you could actually save with mainland China. We do have, we've placed hundreds of teachers into South Korea over the years, less so these past few years, but we still have positions, for example, with public school, and we can help you find a role teaching there. More details on this in our workshops and our videos. Taiwan would be another really good option if that's something you're looking for. We do a lot of work with the local sports clubs, especially in Taiwan and Taipei. We have our team on the ground in Taipei as well, so there's lots of support there. And it's a really, really cool location. Cara, you mentioned you were based there for a while. You were studying there and teaching as well, right?
Yeah, I studied there in my degree. I had to spend a year abroad, and I loved Taiwan. I think the food was just incredible. The people were so friendly. It's such a beautiful place. I really, really enjoyed my time there. I loved Taiwan.
Me too. I visited, I traveled there. I love traveling to Taiwan. I've been there several times. The thing to point out, again, the difference with mainland China and the programs, the packages we have. In Taiwan, you're not going to get that. You've got to be able to manage things a bit more independently in general. You know, you're not going to earn as much money. That's just a fact. So there are pros and cons to South Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam in comparison to mainland China. What would you say about that, Cara? Would you agree? You made the move to mainland China after, right?
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think definitely the cost of living overall in Taiwan is much higher. Things like rent and stuff like that is much higher than it is in mainland China. So I would definitely agree in terms of looking at savings and your salary in comparison to your cost of living, that definitely China is the strongest out of all of our options.
Right. And then we get people asking about Vietnam. So like I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of work in Southeast Asia, but we mainly focus on the very professional international schools where we know we can give this Teachola quality guarantee to our teachers. But we tend to place a lot of teachers who are already based in Asia into these roles, unless you have a professional teaching qualification from back home. So the ESL market in Vietnam, I describe it as a bit more developing compared to the more developed programs we have in China. I think you could say it's less structured package in Vietnam, meaning you may end up teaching at one school and then you might teach at another school, and you kind of have to build up that package yourself, as opposed to with the program in China, where it's all laid on a plate and managed for you. As well with the accommodation, it depends on the school, but not all schools offer that. So it's a little bit more fragmented in Vietnam, but still a really cool option to look at, and we can give you more details if that's something you're very keen on. So this is a bit more on what's coming up in part 2. It's more about the nuts and bolts, right? How to actually apply. So we'll be going over the following areas, the key steps in the process before you do travel out to Asia, the basic requirements you're going to need to qualify, TEFL certification, teach abroad, online workshops. So Hopefully you will have watched these videos before you join us in our live workshops. That's how you'll get the most out of what we do. We'll then be preparing you for your school interview in that workshop and give you lots of tips and advice and really help you progress. We'll also be offering you lots of information on how to organize your visa-related documents, ongoing support all the way through, and of course, regular video content on relevant topics that we've mentioned. More on that in the upcoming webinar. Hopefully it's been useful. Cara, thanks for joining us on this one.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I think you'll be joining us for the next video as well. So thanks, everybody, and we'll speak soon.
Bye, guys. See you in the workshops.
Take care.